Some breaking news just coming through from the New York Times that I'm keen to get your thoughts on. The Biden administration has reportedly decided that most Americans should get a booster shot 8 months after they've completed their initial vaccination. Would you expect that Australia will follow America's lead on this, that 8-month timeline is about right?
Good afternoon, Ashley. I guess it's a little bit soon for us to be thinking about boosters because so few of our population have had 2 doses. But there must be some new evidence that's emerged that's guided this decision in the United States. We've been waiting for some time to see just how long the immune response lasts after being fully vaccinated. Of course, the world only started vaccinating in December last year. So we're only just now 8 months into that global program. So if the level of immunity has declined considerable, plus the emergence, of course, of more serious variants like Delta, then I guess boosters will be inevitable. In Australia, we should be planning for those. But I would expect we'd start doing that prior to next year's winter.
Okay, looking at the current situation that we're facing right now, you're joining us live from Melbourne. What is your assessment of the situation there in Melbourne? And do you think these harsher measures that have been introduced, the curfews, the closing of playgrounds, from an epidemiology perspective, are they worthwhile?
I think they are, particularly in the context of Delta. We've seen how quickly it spread in New South Wales. Now, these restrictions that have just been introduced today in Victoria, in Melbourne, are exactly the same as what was called stage 4 restrictions that were brought in about this time last year. Now, the Burnet Institute modelling showed that once those restrictions were introduced, they had results. So they led to a reproductive rate that was less than 1. So the number of daily cases progressively declined until we got to those first donut days, or 0 cases, in October last year. Now, our modelling can't delve into that package of restrictions and pick out which one, like, was it the curfew, was it the outdoor masks, was it the 5K limit that produced the best results. We can't do that. You'd have to do some kind of natural experiment to do that. But we do know that the package did indeed work. And so I think at this stage, it's worth putting in that whole package of restrictions. There's a lot of discussion about curfews. It's true, there's no evidence from around the world that a curfew by itself is effective in reducing cases. That's because in every country in the world where curfews have been introduced, and there are many of them, they were part of a package of restrictions.
In New South Wales, the Premier is warning that the numbers are likely to keep growing, that certainly New South Wales still has a very tough month ahead. Would you agree with that assessment, and would you like to see some of these extra measures introduced to Sydney?
Well, most definitely the figures are not looking good in New South Wales. You know, we epidemiologists don't pay a lot of attention to each day's figures. So we look at the 7-day average. That's up to 417 today in New South Wales, and it just keeps going up every day. Now, again, our modelling of the Sydney outbreak shows that at the moment, with the current trend, the doubling time is 11 days. So that means every 11 days, this 7-day average will double. So at that rate, by the 1st of September, this average will reach 1,000 cases. And of course, within the daily figures, there's this troubling, very high number of cases that are under investigation, so that we don't yet know, first of all, how they got infected, and we don't know whether they've been isolating at home during their infectious period. So when you add those two together, you have a trend of concern in Greater Sydney. And of course, I'm most worried about Western New South Wales, in particular Dubbo. They've reported 116 cases so far, and 40% of those are children under 10. So we have a very serious situation in Western New South Wales.
Yeah, the situation is dire, no doubt about that. Mike Toole, we appreciate your expertise and the work that you're doing at the Burnet Institute. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday. We appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.